one of the things that I feel like you have done successfully is create a space where you don't have to rely on that so much because you've created your own liberation. And you have talked about how you used tech specifically to do that, which is how we got Hacking Hollywood as our title. So
I used to work for Apple. I used to train in the store how to use Final Cut, Logic Pro, Keynote, all of these things that people gravitated towards Apple computers because it brought out more of the creative things that you could do yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally comes from just the fact of, I can do this myself. It may not be a blockbuster the first time out. It may not have the quality that I want the first time, but I can run the camera, I can run the lights, and each time I go back to the canvas, the drawing board, the whatever the medium that I'm doing, each time I'm coming with more knowledge and experience, and it gets better. That's what Hollywood has been. That's what so many people is doing. Their first film is crap. By the time they get to their 10th, it's like, oh my goodness.
Well, what's interesting is that a lot of white creatives in Hollywood, they get the opportunity to get their 10th. So, if they fail the first time, they still get funding the second time and the third time. And a lot of Black folks, we don't get that. If you don't come out swinging the first time, then they're like, oh, see, we tried. You may get a second time if you go somewhere else, right? But I think
that's for affirmation that's outside of our community. So when you're talking about, the reality is, if we don't support it, they're not going to support it. So there's so many art house type films, other subjects we can talk about that we can make content on. But if it's too square for people in the community, if it ain't Book of Power 3, 6, 7, and 8, or whatever, and keep doing that same thing, then, because that's what they said sells for our community. The violence, the guns, the drugs, the rap, the this, the that, whatever. This is what sells. And so we're saying, well, we're living by, again, these things that says, it ain't enough of a inside out strategy. It's not enough of being validated and affirmed by yourself first, then by your community and the people that you want to speak to and the people that you want to make content for. But we're still trying to get this level. And I get it for all the reasons that we want white recognition, whether it's from, but if Beyonce's going to get gooped in the front row, girl, you could get gooped too.
Right. Where I was going was, I want to know how you created, literally how you created those pathways for yourself. How did you decide, okay, I'm going to go more digital with this. I'm going to lean into my tech skills. Because I think some people.
You want to know my origin story?
Well, no,
I mean, I don't mean whole. I mean, because
I didn't know that it involved a whole origin story.
It's my origin story. It's the story that, being a Black trans woman, I kept getting fired from jobs whenever I showed my ID that had a different picture or name than what I was coming up in the building presenting as. So at some point the jig would be up and I would start to experience harassment and different things on the job that made it hard to go to work in those spaces, or I wouldn't get the job, or I get fired, or all these different things. And I'm a very smart, knowledgeable person. So when I started getting fired from jobs, this was 1990s and stuff like that, and early 2000s, I had to turn to sex work. And so what folks don't understand about sex work in a lot of these spaces, there's this term, sex trafficking. And what is a big part of sex trafficking is an element of coercion, which means a high level of coercion says, what else are you going to do? You don't know the language. You don't have a passport. You don't have these things. You can only get this job braiding hair in the salon because you don't have the things. What else are you going to mean? That's another example. But with me, what else are you going to do? Your ID, as soon as you bring it out, they're going to fire you. They're going to be calling you on the job. They're going to call you a he, she, a man. They're going to be doing all this to you. Girl, what else are you going to do? You trying to pay for hormones. You want to do this. You want to do that. So it made more sense for so many trans women. And we were ushered into a space that both capitalized on us while also giving us opportunity that no one else was really giving us, because I'm going to go to the job and get paid $10 an hour to get called a man when I go into the kitchen or whatever? Or do I want to get paid $250 for this hour to get called beautiful? So what happened was, someone like me who grew up in the gifted and talented programs, who worked 2 and 3 jobs when I was a teenager and wanted to pay for my own things or whatever, all of a sudden you telling me that my only option is sex work, is my best option? And it was at the moment. And so what happened was this moment of acceptance, of thinking, okay, this is what my life is going to be. I'm going to be on the back pages of these newspapers. I'm going to have my out in these ads. I'm going to be doing this thing, and I'm going to be that girl. And I'm having client. This is what I have to succumb to. This is the life for trans women. And then when I got into that world, the woman who was running the adult website saw that I was smart, and she said, wait a minute. She was like, actually, can you help me update the website every month? Make the page look fresh, or do something, and upload all the new photos. I had to crop and rotate them. Then I had to learn CSS to change the design of the front page. So what happened in that situation was, I went from posing on the website to running the website. This is what happened. And so I was no longer posing on the website. Then I said, you know what? I don't want to do your type of website, because it feels like a truck stop that is just fetishizing trans women and just throwing things out. It don't feel like Hustler or Playboy. It don't feel glamorous. It don't feel affirming. So I created my own adult website, and then I thought that's what I was going to do. And then realized I didn't want to do adult content. I just like being tech. So again, I was able to find this blueprint and create a blueprint out of the street, out of the margins, by first accepting the situation I'm in, looking around and understanding the systems that are at play, learning the language that folks are using, and then finding a way and learning this technology and tools, so that now that I do the tools, I don't have to do adult stuff. I can just do commercial stuff. So I built a business over 10 years. It was called Myzen Studios. And I did web development. I did graphic design. I designed Ludacris's backstage patches and Cedric the Entertainer's backstage passes for one of their comedy concerts. And they never knew a trans woman did it, because they didn't need to know what I look like in order for me to do a good job at the job.
Your skill set and vision around how to use tech in any space created inroads for you that were created by yourself. Like, they weren't created by someone else. The limitations weren't created by someone else. You were able to harness, these tech means that weren't always available to trans women before you, right? And you were able to create actually pathways for them as well, right? Because by you saying, you know what, we need to make a more elevated space, like, that's not just something that you were going to benefit from. Like, that was also the other women in your community are going to benefit from.
Like, think about capitalism. You think that capitalism is going to be better or easy when it's one of you in the seat. And I'm saying this because there are a lot of Black men and Black folks who think that capitalism is going to save us, rather than the type of decolonization and liberation for all people. So like, I thought, okay, great. I'm going to be on this website that's ran by a trans woman, but she was exploiting us too. She was selling my pictures 10 times over to other websites while I only got paid once. And so when we talk about the technology piece of it, what I'm saying is, I literally took the tech out of her hands and put it into my own, and said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to press record.
If you want to get the full episode of Small Doses Podcast, the visuals, you got to get them right here at the Amandaverse.